Hey there guys, girls and everyone in between and outside of it, and once again welcome to Nimby Rails, to the second tutorial part. Today we will talk about how to build tracks, interesting topic of course for a game where you build tracks and run trains. We will talk about how to set up lines, how to set up depots, a little bit about scheduling and signals, and every time my brain wants to tell you something I will let it do that, because I have now nearly 2,900 hours in this game. So for me everything is clear. I know what I do, but if you are new to the game, you might not. So I will just try to talk as much and I will try to drop as many information as I can in this video. But like a teacher who's doing it for 40 years, I cannot make the perfect tutorial because everything is normal for me. I will try my best though, and I will zoom in relatively far. As you can see, first thing is when you go to tracks, append or create new tracks, you have three track types. You have 60 kilometers for trams, 160 kilometers for trains, and 350 kilometers also for trains, for high-speed trains. I never use them, so I will just remove them from the loadout because I never use them, and I also recommend for you don't use them. What do you want to use instead? Let me go to the mods, scroll down in all the mods I have installed currently, and I activate mine, Rickstars, low speed tracks and high speed tracks. What do they do? Let's go to the workshop, I will show you. The mod is adding different speeds to the track, to the main default track. Also down here, the tracks are using the default textures. So it looks like the normal 160 km/h track, but it's not. These are all the speeds that are added to it. So if we go back to tracks, append new tracks, let me just remove this. We have 20, 30, 40 km/h and all the way down to 320 km/h, everything added by the mod, and they all look the same. I will put 50 km/h as key 1 and 100 km as key 2. You can do this on numpad or the normal numbers. If you press 1 it goes to field 1, 2 is 3, 2, so you can switch through it with your keyboard, and you have 9 fields for it. So you can set them up before a big construction project with the tracks that you need. I will go in with 50 km/h with the solo track, and most important thing, activate continuously append track segments, because without it, once I put it here and I click, it is built. If I activate this, I drag it and I click, I get a new track, so I can continuously build. Makes it way easier. To build stations, my personal tip is don't build stations, so don't use create station and platforms, just build with your normal tracks. I will build a simple station, so with 40 meter segments, making the two in the middle 80 meters long, and then when I select both of them, you can see it here on the left already, I can translate, rotate, or give them a custom maximum speed. I can promote the tracks into a new station and also change the node mode. We will promote them into a station somewhere in nowhere, and with that you have a station. Super simple. You can also create the same thing, for example, in a curve, like that. And then you just select two in the middle. And then here you can select a station nearby or select existing station, and just leave it like that. It creates its own normal new station. For me personally, when I go to the curves, I use the tangent mode. So it looks a little bit different, and it also won't give you the circle that it's always the same angle. It just won't do that, but this way you can rebuild networks even better. So when we have the tangent mode and we have the continuous append track segments, I will add a few 40 meter segments. So I will just not really concentrate on the tracks, but rather or more on the numbers. And then I will take out the split and tape tool, go all the way down to parallel track tape, and in this case I will just add a few tracks here. What are these tracks doing there? They are simulating the depot. I'll actually take this away, make it 70 meters here. You can always build tracks and then put them towards other nodes or lock them to other nodes. If you then go to the parallel mode, you will drag all of them that are connected to it. So like this is just the most classic setup of a depot. on the side of the main track. I will also put here 70 meters. So, and then I will use this one, you take this one, promote it all into a new station, and this is now the depot. When you have a depot that has an end, so where the tracks just end, you only need to signal the departure area. So just like that, for example. If you have it on both sides, so that the trains can go out this side or this side, you would also put signals over here, so that the trains can always reserve a part of track for themselves. Here at the station, we won't build into the other direction, which means I'll put a signal here, and I will also place down a signal here, so that the train approaches and can see is there a train in front of me or not. It has no possibilities to go away or to the sides. So you need to be careful about this with scheduling, but for the tutorial I will just use a single track for now. So when we continue, I built way too long, and put another station in the same layout here. And I will double it up. So take this one, make it station number 2. Why do I double it up? Because I want to show you how it would work on a single track. To have a meeting point in the middle. So you would go to the create new signals, you go to one-way signals, you put it down like this, one to the left, one to the right. And this now means that on the lower part, there can only trains go from the left to the right, and on the upper part only from the right to the left. I put blocks down there so that when the train enters, the path behind it is cleared and the signal can, wait, I can show it to you here. If I go to this signal, you can see where it looks. It has a clear view of all the depot tracks, so if there's a train in the station and goes towards the depot, it can see on which tracks trains are and if they are in the way. If the trains are in the way, it won't depart. Super simple. But you can see it also goes all the way to the passing loop. It goes from left to right. This way it also stops at this signal because it goes from right to left, so it can't look on the other side because it's not supposed to. And down here it passes the balise and then it ends because the balise is killing the signal. But this also means that when this track down here, for example, is reservated, so the train reserves it, sorry, not reservate, reserve, and then a train comes into the station, goes to the signal, it can read the track that goes back. And because it is already reserved, the train won't depart, because there's a train already inside of the block between the station and the other station. It reads all the way to the next signal always, so that is something to keep in mind when you put multiple signals behind each other that are facing the same direction. So to end everything, I will once again go here, 40, 40 and 40 meters, take the two 80 meter segments, promote it into a new station. This is now Tenere 3. And it is time to build everything. I will create two lines. One will be for the depot, the other one will be for the line itself. I just changed the code. This will later be shown on the train UI part. And then the first thing it asks is select a train for the reference train. In the past it wasn't that important, but in the new versions I would always recommend to you that you already know what kind of train you want to use. So in this case, I will go into trains. I never use them. Oh my god, okay, I will use the KU231. I will buy it mothballed. So it is in here and it has no orders. And because I also want to show you the passing loop, I will just clone it here. Clone a new train, so we have two trains now. I'll give them different decals so that you can tell them apart. When you go to the line, there are two different stop modes. One is basic mode, so you only can select when there are two track segments in a station, you can select them into the direction. If there's only one track segment, it's a little bit of a problem. It will only show you one direction. With the advanced mode, you get this beautiful arrow. And you can see, wait, let me just go in here, the KU. The red area is the length of the train. It's 120 meters long. So if I go here, you see that I'm at the end of the platform, 160 meters. And on the right, I'm relatively far away from the arrow. On the left, I'm not. So if I go to the arrow, for example, here, you can see 120 meters goes to the same point. So the red area that you see is the length of your train. This way you can see if it's inside of your station or not. I will just, because it's 120 meters long, we have 160 meters, difference 40 meters, so I will put it 20 meters away from the side. The good part about the advanced mode is you can always put in waypoints. So on open tracks. This is good to show your trains where they are supposed to go through. For the rest, I will just do it with basic mode. So the setup is, here's Tenere, the first stop, Tenere 2, second and fourth stop in their respective directions. And over here, stop number 3, the one in the middle, is in the last station to turn around. Now, if you want to do it super easy and you want to outrun the line, you should use a timing or a period of time that fits into the 24-hour schedule. So for example, if you want to run it 24/7, you should always have a line length that is divided and that fits into these 24 hours at least once or multiple times, or into the 7 days. So for example, when it runs once a day, so it needs 24 hours to run the line, for example, you can do that 7 times a week. When it runs every 2 hours, it can do it 12 times a day. So it always has to fit into a day or a week period. For this line, I will just make it super simple. I will make it custom. I will set up the stop times like I normally do. And I will make it 15 minutes. I will always recommend you manually pick stop as an extra stop time because it shows you everything at the end. I will put the 35 seconds on the beginning so that we have 4 minutes left. And then, for example, for a line like this with single tracks, it's super important when the tracks meet. So that has to be timed. In this case, it's, I don't want to say super simple because we have a 15-minute pattern, but after 4 minutes, it arrives at the station. With a full 1 hour period, it's a little bit easier. What I will do is at the first stop, I will make it 3 minutes. At the turnaround stop, I will make it 2 minutes. This way we have the 15-minute pattern, and divided by 2 is 7.5. So here you can see 6 minutes into the line, the train will pass here. So it's better when it's on the 12th minute as well, and then we'll pass it again and then again. So I can't explain to you properly how the math works, but the way I set it up, I expect the trains to always meet at Tenere 2. It is just the pure basics that trains should meet whenever there is a possibility to meet and shouldn't meet on the open single track. So now where this is solved, we have 2 trains. We have them meeting in the station. So theoretically the line is ready to be scheduled. Let's take care of the depot. How do you set up a depot? Super simple. First tip of me is display a map, always disable it. You don't want to see it on your map, just trust me. Again, reference train will be the Caillou train. And then the first setup is we will add a stop because the train will park here. Now in this setup, this is the entry signal into the depot. And when you set it up like I did, it means that you can use secondary platforms. How this works is it goes to your secondary platform signal. It is this signal here. And when it is at the signal, let me just show to you, because it can look into all the 4 tracks. It can look into them and see if there's a train. So the line is set up to stop at the first track, at track number 1. But if there is a train at track number 1, it has the order to go to a secondary platform, which is track number 2, 3 or 4. Same will happen when track number 1 and 2, for example, are blocked. Then it can still go to 3 and 4. And this way you can set up super simple depots. The most important part is between the line that you're running and the depot. The train has, no matter what, it always has to pass the signal. If it doesn't, you have a problem with your line setup. Super simple. So you just need to make sure that the entry to your depot is via one single track. So let's go to the trains, and they are supposed to run this line. I will, in this case, give them a real schedule. So this one is the tutorial line. We want the train to have 2 different schedules because they're 2 different trains with different timings, but because they do the same thing, and this is the good part of the schedule update, you only have to make 1 single schedule. I always name them with run and then 1, 2, 3, 4, for example, if there are 4 different train setups. In this case, it is only 1 setup, so only run number 1. We have Tenere station. I will let them depart at 6 in the morning, and the line from Tenere. So it will always repeat that, no matter what happens. We don't want that. So we want them to depart at 6, and I want them right after midnight back in the depot. How do I do that? I copy this time here. So I go into this time slot where the train departs at 50 minutes after midnight, and I copy out this very first time, so 11 minutes and 25 seconds. Then down here in the timing event, I change it to arrive exactly at, and I tell it enter and exit at Tenere. I don't want to loop this order, I want this to happen once, because now you can see in the schedule, the train arrives at 11 minutes and 25 seconds after midnight, and it stays there until 5:56 in the morning, because then it is getting ready to depart at 6 again. So this way we have already created a way how the train will run the entire time, but from midnight to 6 AM. There it won't run. But we have 2 trains, and we have 1 single track, so we have to put them in the depot, of course. This means that when I go to the schedule, I can see it here, it arrives at 11:25, and when I go to the line, I see it stays for 3 minutes, roughly 4 minutes. So from 11:25 it stays there until 50 minutes after midnight. Then it is free to go for the next task, in this case the depot one. You change the timing event down here to arrive no later than. And then you give it just some time. I do 1 AM for example, and I will tell it to enter and exit again at Depot Tenere 1. Sounds simple. The way this works is arrive no later than 1 is it will arrive as early as possible. So here you can see at 50 minutes after midnight, the train will depart from the station. And down here you can see at 50 minutes and 45, it will stop at the depot or arrive at the depot and stay there until 5:55 in the morning, where it then departs again to go to Tenere, arrive there at 5:56:25 and depart at 6. This now means that we have the infinite running line that is repeating as often as it has to all through the day until shortly after midnight, and then it is pushed to the depot. This is the only order we need, because now I will go to the trains and I will tell this train run a scheduled shift. Which schedule is it supposed to run? Tutorial line number 1. In this case you can just create a new shift, go to your schedules, open this field. Unassigned, theoretically you can just delete it, and then you see your train. You can go to orders and you see in this case it automatically runs on run number 1. If it isn't happening like that, then you can always go here. So for example, if it looks like that, you can go down here, insert list, and give it run 1. And down here is an offset. You don't need to offset yet, because that is how the second train works. I take the second train, run a scheduled shift, put it onto the tutorial line, and tell it create a new shift. So we have 2 trains now, both with the same run. Normally, if there's nothing here, for example, you go to insert list, you take run number 1, and now you want to move it. We have a 15-minute duration on the line, so 1 train needs 15 minutes. Divide that by 2, makes 7 minutes and 30 seconds. So you want to insert the order with an offset of 7 minutes and 30 seconds. So when you look at both of these orders, at 6, 1 train is supposed to depart, the other one at 6 hours, 7 minutes and 30 seconds. So they're both offset. They have the same order, but at different times. This is how you can use the schedules. This is a very basic example, but you can go absolutely crazy with that. The last thing you need to do is go to the line, service level, passenger service. When you go to the depot, a depot always goes without passengers, which means you go to service level, technical maneuvers, and then stop behavior, wait on platform, so that the train actually goes in there and stays. And now I go to the trains. We can see they have 1 and 2 minutes to spawn, so I just speed up the line. 1 didn't spawn because I set it up wrong probably. Yes, I did set it up wrong. It shows how the signal is supposed to work. Beautiful, but that's not what I intended. I would just do a super for short hotfix is change the time there and add time there. This way, normally. Yes, you can see the train arrives from Tenere 3. The other train arrives from Tenere, and it clears a single track before the other train departs. You just saw it. If it's set up wrong, the train can't leave the station until the track is clear. So now I will speed it up a little bit, and now you can see it's midnight. And because, oh my god, because I have change the schedule. Is there anything more you can do? Wrong. So we go back to schedule. This is just my personal bed. I think you just go here, go to edit, change it by 1 minute, and now everything works again. I'm a genius. No, just kidding. Beginner mistake. So this train is what we will observe now. It will arrive at the station and it has its standard stop time. But when I go here to run, you can see it switches to the depot. We will just wait this part and it is supposed to go to track number 1. So you see, it changes the line, it changes its tag and it goes to number 1. And it waits there now for the 5 hours and 40 minutes until it's running once again. I will speed up the time for the second train and you see it also has its waiting time. I'll speed it up a bit. And then we now normally would face a small problem because you can see it here, the line, it has only 1 stop. But remember the secondary platforms, which means the train departs. It has no problem with going to track number 2. And that is how you set up trains and train schedules, how you set up depots, and how you build them. I hope it is easy to follow. This is the absolute basic, the most basic thing you can do. Play around with it. I hope that I gave you a bit of knowledge today, that you can start into the game without just auto-running every line with custom orders. It can get very complicated, but Nimby Rails in the end is an open world puzzle game, more or less. It is more than you see right now, and to get everything working and set up, you have to puzzle quite a lot, and I hope you enjoy that. If you have any questions, just go to the Weird and Why Discord, ask the questions there in the questions channel, and the other option is to just write a comment under this video. Ask your question there, I will try to answer it as good as possible. Or there's also the Nimby Rails Reddit, and there you can also at any time ask questions. The community is willing to help, so just go ahead, play around with it, get creative and find out yourself what the limits of this current system are. And one day, I bet, not even one day, in the future your networks will have outgrown what I have right now. But until then, I wish you good luck. If you have questions, ask them. And besides that, enjoy the game and build your personal dreams. Don't let anyone tell you what you have to do. In the next part, we will talk about buildings, we will talk about mods. But until then, see you guys soon. Again, I hope this helped, and bye bye.